Hello, friends. Welcome back. This is going to be a mid-month book bash vlog. So mid-month book bash obviously is the monthly reading event that was first envisioned by Doris over at Aldi Books. And it's where we try to read as much as we possibly can over a weekend, which is always the second weekend of the month. We start on a Friday and end on a Monday because Doris likes to cheat and 2 days isn't enough. And so I always like to try to do a vlog during this weekend. And it is Friday, April the 12th. And I have not been getting a lot of reading done since I've been back from vacation because between, getting back into the swing of things at work and family stuff and other things, I just have not had much bandwidth for reading. I've been really kind of struggling with headaches this week too, and I think it's probably change of season stuff. It's struggling to be spring here in Maine, as it always does in the beginning of April. And it's just a hard time for people who suffer from migraines. So yeah, I'm hoping that this weekend will sort of jumpstart my reading again. I have a lot of things that I need to be working on, and I have 3 things that are currently on the go. So let's talk about them. So the first thing is a buddy read with Britta, and that is this nonfiction book, The New Silk Roads, The New Asia and the Remaking of the World Order by Peter Frankopan. So Britta and I read The Silk Roads by the same author about, I don't know, sometime last year. I can't remember exactly when. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoy looking at history from the perspective of Eastern countries. And this is sort of a continuation of this from the end of the last book. And so more modern, basically within the last 5 or 6 years, things that have been happening. I've read the introduction and the first 2 chapters of this, and Britta and I will be checking in on that this weekend, and then I will be continuing on. But so far, so good with that nonfiction. I am still continuing to read the book that I started on vacation. This is The History of Bees by Maja, Lunde, and this is translated climate fiction from the authors from Norway. And I am, 2/3 of the way through this, so I have about 100 pages left to go. It was a slow start for me in the beginning. It's like 3 different narrative timelines, and so you rotate between the 3 main characters and each from a different historical period, and the story centers around bees and pollination and climate change type stuff. So it took me a while to get into it, but I am thoroughly enjoying it at this point. So hoping to finish this one this weekend. This is the one book that I plan to finish this weekend. And then I started last night another buddy read. This is Bel Canto by Ann Patchett, and I'm buddy reading this with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and this is a book off my ancient TBR, so I'm glad to be finally picking this one up. I've had it kicking around for quite a while. I read the first 50 pages last night, and I have to say I was a little bit trepidatious going into this one because I've heard mixed things. Like, some people really love it, some people do not like it at all, and all I knew about it was that it was about an opera singer making a performance in a South American country, and the group, this like at a party type of a deal, and the group gets held hostage, and that was like all I knew about it. And I don't like I'm not into opera music or anything like that, so I'm like, I don't know, but it's not about opera music, at least it isn't to this point. I mean, that is part of sort of the background context of the book, but that's not really what it's about. It's about this group of people who are in this situation and how they handle in being in this sort of very high stress situation. And so far in the first 50 pages, I'm really, really enjoying it. So that's good news for me. So those are the things that I currently am reading. Of course, the BookTube prize finished up the first round while I was gone, and the announcement was made on April the 1st for the next round, and I was chosen to judge in the nonfiction category. I believe my group is Group B, and I have only read 1 of the 6 books in that group, and so I picked up my second book to read in that group. This is Rough Sleepers by Tracy Kidder, which is about a man who worked with the homeless in Boston. And I have not started it yet, but I hope to start this one. This will be my first read for this particular round of the BookTube prize. I also need to start The Two Towers by JRR Tolkien. Doris and Kim from Middle of the Book March and I are going to continue our group read of the Lord of the Rings series with this installment. So I haven't done anything in this one yet, so I need to pick that up. And I have 2 other buddy reads that are going to be starting this weekend that I will talk about at another time. So lots to be getting on with. I have a few things, social engagements and type things that are planned for this weekend, but mostly I'm hoping to be doing, some housework, spring cleaning time, and some reading, and just sort of laying low for the weekend. So let's see how we get on. Hello friends, happy Saturday. It is the end of the day on Saturday. It is still a little bit daylight out for now another hour or so, but I have been doing some reading finally. We had a busy day, as you will have seen from the clips. We went up to Bangor, which is about 2 hours away from where I live, and did some shopping and had nice lunch out and got some errands done that we needed to get done. But we're home now, and I have been reading Bel Canto by Ann Patchett, and I have finished the first 3 chapters of this book, so the first 100 pages, and I will be checking in with my buddy, Sandy, on this one, but I wanted to do a brief check-in. So this is the story of a group of people who have been gathered together at a party in a South American country, and an opera singer is performing for another gentleman's birthday. And so people have gathered here from all over the world. The guests are from all over the world. And in the middle of this performance, a group of armed people come in and take them all hostage. And so this 100 pages, this is not a plot-driven book. Well, it's a little bit. The plot is that the hostages have captured these people and what is going to happen to them. What are the terrorists going to do? What's going to happen to the hostages? That's the story, right? But really, this is more of like a character-driven story. So we're learning about a lot of the different people who've been taken hostage, and we're learning about the people who have taken them hostage, the actual terrorists, and why they're doing what they're doing, and why these different people were at this party, and the different choices that they made in their lives that brought them to be at this particular place at this particular time, and then the connections that they start to make with each other. So it's like a slow, quiet story in a way, but it's like really, I don't know, it's really sucked me in. I've really been enjoying the read. It's a book that reminds me a lot of like A Gentleman in Moscow or A Month in the Country. It's one of those slow, quiet reads that you just like fall into, and the people become larger than life in your mind. So yeah, I was, worried about this one. I didn't know what I would think of it because I don't read a lot about music or like opera or anything like that, but that's not what this is about. This is about humanity and people, and what people make of stressful situations, and when they're put into these kind of situations, how they react and behave. And it's really fascinating. So yeah, really enjoying this read so far. I did start my first BookTube Prize book for this round. I picked up the audiobook of How to Say Babylon. And I started listening to that yesterday. I had to, during my commute to and from work, I had to go into the office yesterday. So I started that. And at first I didn't know if I would be able to continue because the audiobook is narrated by the author. And her accent I really like because she has a slight different accent than what I'm used to, but she has a strange style of narrating where she pauses in the middle of sentences where there isn't necessarily, almost dropped the phone, where there isn't necessarily like a punctuation call to pause. Like there's some very odd diction in the narration. And so I was like, I don't know if I can continue listening to this, if it's going to be too irritating, if I need to pick it up and read it in the physical copy. But I said, I'm going to listen to it for at least an hour and see what I think. And I have become sucked into the story now, so I will continue. But not to get into the details of what I think of the story itself, but just a note about how important the narration is for an audiobook and whether or not that allows you to sort of fall into a story or not fall into a story. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge when an audiobook narrator isn't working for you and to move on from that, unless it really color your reaction to a book. So anyway, just some random thoughts about audiobook narration there. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to do a brief check-in, and I will come back when I have read something more to report on. Hello there, happy Sunday. I am here for another check-in because I've finished a book, and that is The History of Bees by Maja Lunde, and this is translated from the Norwegian, and this is climate fiction. It's the first book in a series, I think a trilogy, and I really enjoyed it. It is told from 3 different perspectives. One timeline is in the future, so dystopian future where all of the pollinators have been killed off and humans have to pollinate plants by hand in order to grow food. And then one storyline is from the early 1800s, a father who is experimenting with bees and doing research on bees, and sort of that time period, like when Darwin was doing his stuff and Mendel was doing his stuff, that time period. And then another timeline in like 2008 in the United States where a family has a bee farm, and the dad is struggling to deal with unforeseen circumstances. I don't want to give anything away, but really struggling with things that are happening within everybody knows colony collapse basically is what he's dealing with. So these 3 storylines sort of you swap between perspectives chapter to chapter. We're following one main character in each of the timelines. And not only is it about the importance of bees and pollination and what humans are doing to the environment, but it's also a story that is really concerned with relationships between parents and children. In each of the storylines, we're really focused between one parent and their children, and like usually one or two of their children specifically. And the fears that parents have for their children, the hopes and the dreams and the expectations, and how they deal with that when maybe the children are not living up to their hopes and dreams and expectations. So that really resonated with me. The book starts off quite slowly, and so I was unsure how I felt about it at first. But once I got to know the characters, I was really involved in it. Like, none of the main characters are really particularly entirely likable, but they all are flawed in a way that seems realistic and is quite relatable. So I enjoyed that aspect too. And like the fact that bees and pollination are sort of woven throughout each of the storylines, I really enjoyed that because I find that stuff really fascinating. So yeah, I can highly recommend this one. I think it's an excellent example of the genre. So glad to have finished that one, which has been on my currently reading list since I was on vacation. I did also start, let me reach over on the stack here and grab it. This is the book that I bought yesterday, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is a romance novel. I am reading this with my romance buddy readers, Doris and Katie, and I've really enjoyed Abby Jimenez's stories before. I've read a couple of them now, and I really like the way that she writes romance. And this one is about a couple who connect over a silly Reddit thread and connect that way, and then, stuff happens after that. The lady is a traveling nurse, and he is a software engineer, and, stuff is going on here, but he basically thinks he has a curse where women date him, and then the minute they break up, the next person they date is their soulmate. And this has happened to him multiple times now. And so, yeah, he's trying to break this curse that he thinks he has. So it's funny. The banter is great. Friendships are fun, which is some of the aspects that I really like about an Abby Jimenez book. So I've just started this one today. I've also started reading, I don't have the cover on it, but this is Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange, and I am going to be buddy reading this with Sean the Book Maniac, and I just started this one today, read the first 60 pages, and I'm absolutely in love with this book. I loved There by Tommy Orange. I think he is just a brilliant writer. He's an Indigenous author, and he writes about, There was about the experience of Indigenous people in modern day America. And this book, so far anyway, is historical. It takes place in the past. And there's going to be I think it seems like there's going to be multiple timelines. So it started off with, back in the, I don't know exactly the year, but I don't think it even necessarily says, but it follows this family. Okay, it does say. So 1924 is the first storyline, and then it sort of goes on from there with the ancestor, and through the family tree. Through this family tree, we start out in 1924, and we're going to go through the descendants of the original characters in the first part of the book. So really talking about historically how Indigenous folks were treated in the United States, and the horrors of Indian removal and Indian massacres, and then removal of children to be sent to residential schools and all that sort of stuff. So really great so far, really easy to read and easy to want to keep going. But I will stop where I'm supposed to and check in with Sean tomorrow. And so I think that's it for the update. I have been listening to my audiobook of the book for the BookTube Prize that How to Say Babylon. I've been listening to that while I've been doing some house cleaning today, so I've made good progress in that as well today. So I feel really good about the progress that I've made over the last 2 days with my reading. So let's hope I can keep it going tomorrow. I do have a day off from work tomorrow. It is a holiday here in my state, which is great. Love a long weekend. Who doesn't? And I'm hoping to get more read tomorrow. So I will check back in when I have more to report. Well, hello. Let's finish out this vlog, shall we? Which I forgot to do yesterday. It's actually Tuesday right now, and I just forgot to finish this out yesterday. So it was actually a very successful reading weekend for me over this mid-month book bash. I only completed the one book, which was The History of Bees, but I made good progress in all of the rest of the books that I'm reading. I'm currently reading 6 books. And, you know, like 4 of them are buddy reads. 1 is a BookTube prize book. No, 5 of them are buddy reads, and 1 is a BookTube prize book. So, you know, I have a lot of things that I'm trying to keep up with, and this weekend was great for that. I met all of my deadlines for all the various things that I was trying to complete, so that feels really good to me, and I feel like I am where I need to be. So that is what I call a success for this mid-month book bash. I hope you all found some time to get reading over this second weekend of the month. And I hope that everything that you were reading was excellent. And I will be back soon with another video. Talk to you later.